Checking. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Friday. I am excited to be here. It's been a long week. It's been kind of a long week, and I'm looking forward to talking to you guys a little bit about basically preparing for the winter, preparing for some uncertainty that might be around the corner. But certainly preparing for it is it's something that allows us to be ready and to approach it with positivity and with hope. So I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about that. Also, just a quick thing, just a little bit of housekeeping. After this broadcast, I will be doing a live presentation over my new program that I'm working on with Dr. Nicole Woodard. She and I put together this program we're calling it Breath Applied Mobility. And basically, it is controlled breathing techniques that are combined with mobility techniques. So ultimately, the goal is you're moving better, you're breathing better, you're feeling better, and it's all together in an 8-week program that I'll be describing afterwards. So I'm going to be doing a live feed after this live feed. But hey, Moosemans, good morning or good evening, good afternoon. I don't know. It's been a long week. It's been a long day. What's up, P. Haggerty? Nice to have you here, my friend. Today, I've been reading a lot in the news about the upcoming. There's an energy crisis that is apparently looming, and of course, it's hitting the world as winter is coming. And so, I've really been thinking about this. Preparing for the times that are strange, times that are uncertain, and of course, we've been living in those kinds of times for the past pretty much 2 years now. It's been about 2 years since this whole since the world really changed forever. When I came back, I remember I was in Poland in 2020. So I was in Poland with Wim Hof and leading some expeditions out there with him in 2020. And I came back in, I think it was like early February, late January. I forget exactly the dates. And people were starting to talk about this thing that was going around. People were starting to wear, these, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to be have the overlords take this. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. The point is, everything was changing, and so we thought in 2020 that wow, that's big, and we talk about the world as it is now, the new normals, and it seems as though we might be having some craziness, in the economic world, and the heating and cooling. However, preparing and being aware of these things they're just smart. It's just smart to be at least aware of things that are going on. Let's see. Mooseman says part of this connected to peak oil. This is a subject I've studied for a long time. Is definitely part of the equation. Interesting. Well, it's something that, I try to keep my eye on the news. I try to not to get, the thing is we can be bombarded. And I talked about this before. The brain is constantly looking for information because that's part of our internal programming. We're looking for information to help us survive and to be a bit better equipped to survive. In the same way, we look for calories, and because our internal programming is that calories are scarce, because for the vast majority of human history, calories have been scarce. And then, of course, in the same way with information, for the vast majority of human history, information has been incredibly scarce. There wasn't really that much to know. Right. And any bit of information that you could find out could be the difference between life or death, and we also just think about that. Just think about the amount of effort that went into this device that we call calendar. I oftentimes think about this. You've got this, you have Stonehenge, but you have many other hinges around the world. You've got a lot of structures that are permanent structures, even structures that are so permanent that we're not even sure exactly how they were created or who made them. We have theories and all these things. And what did they do? They were all about information. They were all about some things that we take for granted today, which is the turning of the seasons, right? Or when this is going to happen, when that is going to happen. And so information is something that our brain craves. And then what happens is, next thing you know, now we're in this kind of a weird inverse world where instead of scarcity in calories, we have abundance. Instead of scarcity of information, we have abundance. And now it's driving us crazy, right? We have all these symptoms, these physical symptoms. Oh, we overeat, we over relax, we over consume, we over drink. We have all the primitive part of our brain is really saying, well, I guess times are good. I better stock up. So, hey, Dan, how's it going, Dan Potter? Nice to have you here, my friend. Hello, folks. What are you talking about, Willis? Oh, man, that is a reference. Thank you for that reference. That brings me back. What show was that? Was that Silver Spoons? Dan, what are you talking about, Willis? Was that Silver Spoons? I forget exactly what that show was, but it was, what was it? Coleman, like Gary Coleman or something like that. Mooseman says, Jesse, I really appreciate your discussion on how the human body is perfectly adapted to the world we no longer exist. Exactly. Oh, different strokes, Dan. Thank you for that. Well, Mooseman, this is the thing that I think that especially, I don't know about the entire world, but when it comes to the world that we live in today, we don't understand that so many of our problems, we can say it and we can believe it intellectually, but so many of our problems are produced by ourselves. We so much of the problems that we suffer from, we created ourselves. Maybe I didn't specifically create the problem, but I am a human being just like every other person. And if it wasn't someone else, it might have been me. And we make these changes to our environment. We're not the only species that makes changes to our environment. Like, for instance, there's what is it, the beavers, they make dams, and I mean they make changes to their environments. But we've made these major changes to our environments, which I think are in generally, when we do this, for the most part, I would say they're in good um in good faith, right? We don't want to be eaten by wolves. We don't want to freeze to death. We don't want to starve. We don't want our children to go hungry or die of malnutrition or things of that nature. But ultimately, in doing so, strangely enough, we rob our children of the opportunities to find satisfaction in solving these problems, or in enduring these stressors that we didn't know we really needed to have. And I guess you could say, the classic thing that parents always say, I want my child to have the things that I didn't have. And and sometimes it should be a matter of, I want my child to have the things that I did have, in which case it might be, certain stressors, certain things that, for instance, I had in my lifetime. Like, for instance, I didn't have the internet. This is an interesting fact. I didn't have the internet in my home until I was 18 years old. Like, just think about that. So now I am more than twice that age now. I am almost 41. So for a while, I was like, well, most of my life has been lived without the internet. But at least I know what it's like. And I'm forgetting more and more every day what it's like to not have the internet. But at least I know what it's like to feel really boredom. And I think boredom is something that's important too. And I know that sounds awful to say, it's important to be bored, but there is a certain degree of genius that I think hits us when we're bored, when we have nothing to do, whenever we're not being constantly stimulated and entertained. I feel like so many good ideas from boredom, and a lot of bad ideas come from boredom. I know in my lifetime I had a lot of not so good, ideas that I thought were pretty awesome at the time that turned out to be, terrible waste of time, or that led to bad, results. But ultimately, I think boredom is a great thing. Now, as we're looking forward into the future, who knows what the future holds? That's the thing that has driven mankind to create all of these, things. It's the thing. It literally is that information drive that we have as a species to try to predict the future. In fact, the dopamine system within our brain is trying to solve any uncertainty that we have, right? And so this dopamine system that drives us crazy. I talk about it in my book, but the thing is, I think it's important to really think this through, because right now there's all kinds of uncertainty in the world, and if you follow the news, if you follow things that are going on, you can get caught up in all sorts of different news cycles, all sorts of different arguments and things like that. But if you're looking at maybe for instance, a lot of shortages, a lot of instability in the world, it's one of those things where you start to wonder, man, what's going to happen? What does the future hold? And I'm a dad, and you guys know what it's like. It's not just about you, right? It's not just about, this just me. I've got other people that I care about, but also, it is me too. And so you start to wonder, well, I wish I knew what was going to happen. I really wish I knew what was about to happen. And that's normal. That's part of being a human being, because if you know what's going to happen, if you can predict the future, you can prosper. There was I forget the name of the philosopher. If you know the name of the philosopher, you get extra points today. First of all, notice how dark it is. I don't know if you guys notice how dark it is here. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it is the most dismal, cloudy day outside. I'm actually enjoying the fact that it's getting cooler finally. Here in the Midwest, it's not been cold yet. And normally we've had at least one frost by now, but it's just now starting to dip down below room temperature. Let's see. I don't know but it's been in the 60s, like the 50s and 60s in Fahrenheit. So not freezing yet, in other words. So I'm looking forward to that happening. But when it comes to weather, just the predictive nature of that, I forget the name of the philosopher. And if you can tell me the name of this philosopher, but he became rich in ancient Greece because he realized that he made the connection. He made the connection between heavy rains and a productive crop of olives, and of course the olive oil that would come from that. And so he didn't have farmland. He didn't have the groves of olives. But he realized it was raining a lot, and so he realized there would be a big harvest of olives. So he rented out all of the olive presses in the area. And so he owned all the olive presses. So people had to pay him whenever they wanted to press all of these olives. And he became very, very rich that way. I mean, ultimately, if you can predict the future, you can become prosperous. And that's something that our species, whether it was, this philosopher, and I would love it if someone in this audience knew the name of that philosopher. Geez, I'm at a loss. I've been lecturing all day, guys. I just got home. I changed my shirt. I should do, like I said, what I do, it's like a more extreme version of Mr. Rogers. I change all of my clothes whenever I get home, and then I do this broadcast. But anyway, I've been lecturing all day, research and rhetoric, and so now I come home and I feel like I need sharpening. But basically, if we know, like that's the thing that builds consternation, isn't it? It's this thing that we have. We feel as though, and it is true. If you can predict something accurately in the future, if you can say, okay, based off of the things that I see, I think this is where we're going, then you can make plans for that and you can prosper from it. You might have heard of the term anti-fragile, right? So Nasim Taleb is an author of course, he's kind of a controversial character. I don't follow him a lot. I don't know much about him, but I listened to the audiobook of Anti-Fragile, and the concept of being in a position where no matter what happens, you're going to benefit from it. That's kind of the idea of anti-fragile. It's the opposite of fragility. It's not even the opposite of fragility. It's simply putting yourself in the best possible position you can be in. And so it's one of those things where we know that things we know that if we can kind of see what's going to happen, that would be great. We can predict the future, wonderful, but we can't. We can give it our best guess, right? And we're going to talk about that today, but ultimately you can't predict the future, and that's what drives us crazy. And that's what your motivational network in your brain wants to do. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have so much consternation and anxiety in the world we live in today. Mooseman says, I have always thought that one of the key principles driving the universe is change. The universe loves change. Yeah, well, I mean, absolutely. And I can't think of this philosopher. I believe is the same. The philosopher I was mentioning before, I believe is the same one who said that you never step in the same creek or river twice. I forget the name, and I'm not going to Google it right now. You could say that resilience is the ability to adapt to change is key. Yeah, exactly. Ultimately, that ability to adapt is basically it's the key to human survival. It's the thing that's kept us, on the top of the food chain. Our ability to adapt, our inventive minds. But the problem is, it also drives us crazy whenever we know, there's a lot of uncertainty, and you can't always trust. Like, for instance, early on in our existence, for most of human history, you didn't know. Like, for instance, you didn't know what you didn't know. Like right now, I know that there are things happening in the world as we speak that are going to affect me in one way or another that I don't even know what they are. And there's no way that I can even really know. All I know is what people tell me, right? What I can read, what I can digest through the news, what I can, infer from, if I look at the stock market, or if I look at, what's happening in, on the news or things like that. I can infer things, but it's one of those things. I know that there's a lot of other things happening that I will never even know about. Whereas in early parts of human history, we didn't even have that implication, right? And ultimately, what you saw with your senses, that was the news. Hey, M. Peter, we're getting into it today. M. Peter, welcome. Nice to have you here. Happy Friday. I love this group, guys. Thanks so much for being here. In a little bit, I'm going to be talking about breath work and mobility after this broadcast, but this is something that's been weighing on me all week. And this broadcast is something I look forward to. I look forward to seeing you guys' names in here. I love reading your comments. I really do appreciate you guys being here. And hey, actually, somebody, I forget who it was, watched last week's broadcast twice and liked and shared. And I'm like, and let me know, because last week we were talking about, okay, if you like this channel, and you want to see it succeed, liking, tickling the algorithm, I think is what we were talking about. And we even said that if maybe if you don't like it, you can put dislike. It works the same either way for the algorithm. And someone did a dislike, and I'm go about it because I don't know any difference in it, and I don't even want to. I don't want to take it the wrong way, so I'm just not going to. Papa Geek is finally here. Papa Geek, I was speaking in Fahrenheit this entire time, and literally I looked to see if your name had popped up, because I wanted to talk about how it hadn't gotten very cold here yet. And so I'm like, okay, let's see. It's just okay. Dan Mooseman's. Okay, I don't see Papa Geek. Okay, it's this many degrees Fahrenheit outside, and I didn't even attempt any any kind of a conversion. But because you're here in the United States, or here at least in the Midwest, we've got to be close to maybe around maybe 8 to 10 degrees. Now I'm going to have to check. Let's see here. 50 degrees Fahrenheit to Celsius. 50 degrees. About 10 degrees, probably about 10 to 15 degrees here in the Midwest. So it's cooling off. It's not as hot as it's been lately. It's getting nice, but yeah, it hasn't been as cold as normal. But I'm prepping for the winter, and this is one of those things where I want to talk to you. First of all, the uncertainty we've been talking about. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world, and it's something that drives us crazy. one thing we can at least do is ultimately understand that how we behave and how we act does make a positive change. And I do firmly believe and maybe this is a statement of faith, even that how we behave, even in our own corner of the world, ripples out to the rest of the world. So it's something that's important. And so, that's something that's been on my mind, is that there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. And ultimately, you know, there's only so much about it, and that can drive us crazy. But hey, good to have you here, Skal. I'm not drinking any alcohol yet. Maybe tonight. I don't know. It depends on my wife is finishing some of her doctoral work, and so she's probably going to make me call her doctor. But anyway, so maybe if she's done, maybe I can have a drink tonight. But right now, it's just one of these. This has a little caffeine in it. Anyway, 39 Fahrenheit where you are. Oh, thank you, Papa Geek. Thank you. I appreciate the reciprocity there. And I will say I'm a little envious. And hey, Namil, you're the best. Thank you so much. Let's see. Heraclitus is exactly who it was, Moose Mans. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so Heraclitus, yeah. So I'm pretty sure. No, it wasn't Heraclitus. It was I think Heraclitus was the one. Oh man. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. I'm going to try to remember all of this. I love Western philosophy. This is something that it brings me such great joy. Western philosophy always has, but it was he was known as like one of the first, basically like the first Western philosopher. Let's see, what was his name? Thales. His name was Thales. And like he had a lot of really weird observations too. I think Heraclitus was I think I was misquoting Thales though. I think I was quoting Heraclitus whenever I was talking about stepping in the same river twice. I guess I'm just off today. But I want to thank you guys for putting up with that. So let's see here. And P. Haggerty, great group. Thanks, Jesse. How about some likes? 11 watching. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. But anyway, so I'm preparing for the winter. What does that mean? Now, first of all, a lot of people ask me, especially as a cold trainer, how do I go about cold training? And one of the things that I always do, a shower for me is never warm. So it's just that way, unless I just want to. Okay. So it's not like I'm ever white knuckling myself. I'm nice to myself. I actually like myself pretty well. So if I just need one, if I'm just like, okay, I just don't think I can handle a cold shower right now, I'll definitely poke myself a few times, but typically it just feels weird to take a hot shower. But all summer long, I've been taking cold showers, which are not cold at all. Like they're about 70 degrees, maybe 60. They're between 65 and 70 degrees Celsius, which is right around probably like 18 or 19 degrees Fahrenheit. No. Maybe I just need to take a nap. Maybe that's what I'm about to give a presentation to everybody about breath applied mobility. And here I am messing this up. So ultimately it's about, I think it's going to be somewhere around like 17 or 18 degrees Celsius that these showers have been in the summertime, which is in my estimation between 65 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's not cold. These are pretty warm compared to, yeah, I'm on fire tonight. Is exactly right. Thank you, Papa Geek. But it's not exactly cold. But as the season has changed, as it's cooling off, it's starting to get colder and colder. And this is awesome. And what will happen is eventually it'll get so cold that if I start, basically, if I don't wash my hair and beard really fast, it will hurt. So it'll get down to 4 degrees Celsius, which is 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And Peter's starting to notice it's starting to get a little more challenging to walk barefoot outside. Fun season is coming. So here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. If you want to be a snow walker, right? If you want to go out and walk barefoot in the snow, you need to know how to walk barefoot whenever it's not snowing, whenever it is regular everyday temperature, whenever it's room temperature. It's not just about cold tolerance. It's also about the fact that you know how to use your feet when you're walking. A lot of times I'll see a person they've never, it's obvious they never walk around barefoot. And then they're like, I'm going to go walk in the snow barefoot. And it's just, there's more to walking in the snow than just the cold, right? Snow is very harsh. Snow is actually a very harsh thing on your skin. It can really be irritating to your skin. So keep doing what you're doing, and Peter, keep walking around with the bare feet. And first of all, you're getting cold training, but you're also conditioning your feet. You're also getting your muscles in the feet. The circulation is improving. So keep doing that. That is absolutely a great idea. So bear with me a second. So overall, this week has been kind of crazy just because my son has been home, my wife has been home. Normally, I work out of the house most of the day when I'm not lecturing at the university. They've both been home this whole week. My son's been on fall break, and my wife has been doing all of her exams for doctoral work. So it's been a crazy week, and maybe that's why I'm a little off today. But overall, there's an enormous amount of uncertainty in the world, but there's a lot of there's a lot of good reasons to stay positive, and we need you. Ultimately, that's the thing. We need to do it. We need you. And so whenever it comes to cold training, when it comes to breath work, when it comes to eating right, when it comes to all these things, it's important that we take care of ourselves because we have to show up. We literally do need to show up for our neighbors out there, because it's just like on an airplane. If you're on an airplane and the oxygen mask comes down, you have to take care of yourself before you take care of somebody else, right? You have to be able to be present so that you can actually be present there for them and actually help out. Anyway, guys, I am running low on energy. I am just about to sputter out. And I know that I need to do this live feed. I want to show you guys breath applied. So I may switch over. I'm gonna probably end this broadcast and go over to the breath applied mobility. If you guys can stick around, because I want to show this to you guys. This is a program that I've been working on with Dr. Nicole Woodard, and it combines breath, and specifically controlled breath, controlled breathing. It combines that with movement patterns. And so it's an 8-week program. And basically I'm looking for beta testers. And I already had some of you guys reach out to me looking for that. I'm looking for an opportunity to join. So I'm looking for beta testers to let me know how this is working. It does cost to be a beta tester, but it's a huge discount, and the value is there. Basically, all I'm going to be doing. Rusty is finally here. Rusty, I've been forgetting my name today. I've just been just completely just completely for what I'm talking about today. So I'm glad you're here, Rusty. Nice to have you here. So basically, this program, if you are on my mailing list, so if you go to jessecoomer.com and you sign up for my mailing list, you are going to get a copy of the broadcast that I'm about to do. I'm going to do it live, and then I'm going to make that unlisted, and I'm only going to be sending the recording to the people on my mailing list, which is free. You can join my mailing list for free. That's at jessecoomer.com. So you can go to jessecoomer.com, sign up for my mailing list, and there's going to be, I'm going to have just the first 20 people who sign up. I'm only allowing 20 people from the mailing list to sign up to be beta testers. We can't have everybody be a beta tester. So I'm allowing 20 people from the mailing list and 20 people from the Patreon club to be beta testers. And so basically, what I do ask, and I give it to you for almost free. People, if you're in the Patreon club, you get a bigger discount than if you're on the mailing list, but both of them are insane discounts. But the thing I will ask is for everybody that's using it to, first of all, tell me where the bugs are. Like, you would not believe whenever you design these online courses. Like, I'm right now, I'm in the process of designing 3 online courses. Like, it is so hard because you're designing the user experience. There's all sorts of things in there that um, whenever you're working on it, it all makes sense. And then whenever someone else looks at it, they're like, I was with you until this point, and then suddenly I kind of dropped off. I'm not sure what you wanted me to do after that. And so I'm not sure how these things connect. So sometimes I just need people to beta test it for me. And so ultimately, if you are interested in, the big thing with breath applied mobility is, and I'm going to show you some parts of the, I'll show you inside of the program here in just a little bit. But the big thing about breath applied mobility is it's specifically geared toward, we started it off gearing it toward athletes, but we realized about halfway through designing this method that, no, man, this is good for everybody. This is good for, because it doesn't require you to have, it doesn't require you to have an enormous athletic prowess. You don't have to be super athletic. You don't have to be super in shape. In fact, if you're not in good shape, it's the best possible thing you can do. And ultimately, once you get into the habit of doing this over 8 weeks, you develop. We start off really simple, and then we start teaching you some basic fundamental aspects of breath, some basic fundamental aspects of mobility, both of which are awesome by themselves. And then we start learning, okay, now we're going to combine them, and we get them into a very, what I would consider a proprietary blend. Okay. Something that we did a lot of experimenting on to make sure it is exactly what we want. Because when you combine them in the right way, you get more than just mobility and breath work. You get this combination where every breath you take, every movement you make is, and I'm almost ready to quote the song, every breath you take. Anyway, but as so many people overlook the fact that these things are intimately intertwined, they're intimately intertwined. So when you combine these things together in the way that we have them combined, you start to notice that it affects you in every other part of your life too. All right, let's see here. I actually do have a question here. So Andrea asks, and if you guys have questions, feel free to throw them in there. I'm going to stick around for just a little longer, and then I'm going to go over and basically just stay on the channel, because I'm going to do a live broadcast right after this using, hey, Biggie Smalls. Yes, it's like it was yesterday, man, for the kids in the 90s. But right after this, I'm going to be doing a live demo of the breath applied mobility. I'll show you around the course. And again, I'll be sending out a coupon code for the people in my Patreon club and the people that are on my mailing list, along with a recording of this live recording. So let's see. Andrea says, do you know what Wim is talking about? Changing your DNA. I don't ever know what Wim Hof is talking about. Well, and I say that I'm kidding. Wim says a lot of things, and so when we talk about changing our DNA, and I can't really speak. I don't want to speak for the man. I've been around him a lot. I've heard a lot of his what he has to say about a lot of things. But I will say that what I think he's talking about, okay, and I'm not wanting to put words in his mouth, is not necessarily changing your DNA. You're still going to remain human, right? It's ultimately expressing different aspects of your DNA. So there's different elements of your DNA that can be expressed depending on how you're living. So for instance, and we call this epigenetics. So things that will, like, there are certain parts of our genes that are either turned on or turned off, and depending on the state that we're in within our bodies and within like, for instance, one of them that has nothing to do with Wim Hof method is mTOR. This is just as an example. So mTOR is one of our ways that our genes can express themselves, and that is there to help us build and maintain muscle. But whenever it's on, it switches off another part of our genes that is there for that ultimately helps us with longevity. So this is why it's important to have a balance between and of course this is why there are certain things you should avoid eating or certain things you should eat more of and things like that. It depends on what you're sending to the body. The body is always listening, and the genes are always trying to allow for the survival and so that you can propagate your genes. So when we talk about changing our DNA, it's not changing us into something else that's not a human being. It's and then again, this is just my interpretation. This is what I would say. But ultimately, it is how those genes are expressed. So one of the things you might have seen on my channel is I've been working pretty closely with Dr. Elena Serenova, and she works specifically on longevity genes. So the sirtuin gene. So I believe I forget how many there are. I think there's like 6 or 7 sirtuins, and they're responsible for lengthening our telomeres and repairing DNA damage. And so depending on what we're putting in our bodies, what we're doing with our bodies, that is going to influence how those are expressed. So, for instance, actually, cult training is fantastic. It's fantastic for epigenetics, especially when it comes to longevity, when it comes to reducing inflammation, when it comes to really a lot of these things. But it's not going to change our DNA. It's just how things are expressed within our DNA. Jesse, breathwork to become Spider-Man, how to? Great question. Well put. Thank you. Thank you, Rusty. So first you need to find a radioactive spider. Okay. Now the breathwork portion is that you're going to get the spider and you're going to start really, and you have to become a mouth breather if you're going to do this right, because if you get the spider up your nose that's radioactive, it's going to just ruin the spider venom. So you have to go and you inhale the spider, that's the radioactive spider. It's going to bite you on the tongue. Remember, it must bite you on the tongue. Once it does that, then you become Spider-Man. That's just how it works. I mean, that's the science. Papa Geek says more longevity content, please. Hey, my friend, you are in luck. And I'm actually working on an in-depth course with Dr. Serenova on going greater in detail with longevity, some of the how-tos. We're going to be releasing that hopefully next month. I'm almost done with all of my videos. I'm telling you guys, I've had so much homework to do. It's been very intensive. Making videos is so much harder than it looks. Like whenever you watch a video, you just assume, I guess all he did was he just turned that camera on and said it perfectly the first time. And then I guess that's all he did. And it's so much more than that. It's so much. So like, I don't know how many times I've been making just YouTube videos, right? YouTube videos where, a person will come up and talk to me in the middle of my YouTube video. It's like, do you not see that I'm actually in the middle of something? And of course, you don't want to be a jerk, right? A lot of times they'll ask you a question. They're trying to be nice, or there'll be some crazy thing that happens. I've been bitten by mosquitoes like in random places while being on camera. And then I look at the video later and I'm like, wow, that's going to be really distracting later on when people watch this. And, and so now I'm doing all these videos. I'm creating 3 different courses. One is focused specifically on breath work. One is focused on longevity, and that's with Dr. Serenova. More on that soon as it comes closer time for the release of that. And then the one is the mobility. It's breath applied mobility. Breath applied mobility is actually I'm excited for all of them. I'm super excited for breath applied mobility. I think the reason why I'm so excited about that one is because it's taken 2 years for us to produce. Like it takes a lot of time to produce all these other ones, but this was one where I really got to work really closely with an expert, a high-end expert in the field of mobility and basically the field. Like she works with like especially she works in the CrossFit and obstacle course people, really high-end level mobility and fitness and wellness. Dr. Woodard, and we got to really starting just basically what does this do? Well, what if we combine these two things? What kind of a result are we going to get? So I'm really excited to see how this course is, um, how it works for you guys. And so we're going to do the beta testers first. We want to make sure, okay, we want to make sure it makes sense. We want to make sure, like, little things too, like, does the welcome email work? That's one we've been working on lately. Do the buttons all work? And then what we're going to do is we'll ask anybody who tries it to also give us maybe a testimonial, or maybe videotape yourself trying to do it. We want to see how it works for a person, because we know how it works for us, but then again, we already know we invented the thing, right? So it's pretty cool. I'm really excited about it, and so I'm excited to get into that. When is the Jesse Coomer video game coming out? So that's a great question. So everybody wants to know when the Jesse Coomer video game comes out, and so there is no Jesse Coomer video game, but but if there were a Jesse Coomer video game, it would have a lot to do with, okay, so you would play this bearded, basically you would just play the beard. It would just walk around the screen. There wouldn't really be a face. It would just be a beard that kind of walks around. And then, it's kind of like, do you guys remember Kirby? I think it was Kirby. Was that it was like I don't even know what the character was, but the whole thing was that he could blow really hard, and he could inhale and exhale really hard. So uh, that would be my skill, I guess. I would blow away the competition. Get it? And let's see. Andrea says, "Are you planning to cut your beard again?" I am not, even though my 6-year-old wants me to. So it may be that my 6-year-old wins. Here's the thing. So I'm getting a haircut next week, and I'm wanting to go to where there's even less hair up top. Uh, I'm watching Vikings again. Every year I watch Vikings this time of year. When the seasons start to change, I start to I do a few things. Like naturally they start happening. So during this time of year, I want to eat more like seasoning, um during I eat seasoned food a lot during all throughout the year, but during this time of year, I want to eat more like seasoned meats and things like that. Now, I am going more and more plant based. So I can talk about that maybe on a future thing, because I want to tell you guys a little bit more how I am serious about I have certain plant based days. Like certain days, I don't eat anything that comes from an animal at all. And this is for my health. I'm not taking some kind of a big political stand or anything like that. I'm going with the data here, and trying to see how it makes me feel. And so far it's been really good. Today is one of those days. I have my protein source on plant-based days. I eat a lot of nuts, nut butters, and I'm not really big into legumes and beans and things like that. I'm not a big bean eater or legume eater, but I'm enjoying the plant-based stuff. But during this time of year, I get the craving. And I think it's because I watch Vikings and they're always feasting on all this meat. And I'm like, oh man, I want to get some ribs. I want some chicken wings. And chicken wings are deadly whenever you have a beard like this. I can't go in public and eat chicken wings. I have to bring them home. Or I have to, this is coming back. This is Andrea. This is back to your question. I mean, it would be a reprieve if I were to shave my beard. And actually last year when I shaved my beard, like it was so easy to eat messy foods. It was ridiculous. Like right now, like today on my lunch break, so I was eating cashews, walnuts, broccoli, and hummus. That was my lunch today. And I got, I have to look at myself in the mirror before I go to class to teach more students and before I go up to a lecture, because I don't want to have all this like hummus and stuff in my beard. So it would probably be a it would probably be to my, I don't know. I just like having a beard. It's something I enjoy, and I'm also kind of lazy. I don't have to shave every day. My beard grows aggressively. Like my facial hair, it is aggressive. whenever I shaved, and for most of my life, I don't think I even started having a beard really for real until I was maybe like 37, and I'm almost 41 now. So it was one of those no shave Novembers that just kind of kept on going. And but for most of my life, I've shaved. I've been clean shaven most of my life. And actually, I've got. I'm going to show you something just because I'm having some fun today. I'm going to show you a picture of when I was in a band. I think I can share this with you guys. When I was in a band, I don't know if I can share it in the chat or anything. But anyway, sometime I'll post a picture or something like that, like that of me when I was younger, because I was absolutely clean shaved most of my life. And so it's I don't know, I'm just having fun. But I'm thinking about doing something where it's like even how they pretty much shave like Ragnar kind of shaves the sides. I'm kind of wanting to go super Viking on it. So we'll see. We'll see. That got me into quite a thoughtful rant there. Papa Geek, let's see, says, I found your latest videos about the subject of longevity really interesting. Tim Ferriss quality content. Hey, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And what I'm trying to do ultimately, I went through a phase where I was interviewing a lot of people on this channel, and then I stopped doing that for a little while. I was kind of a rookie at interviewing people. And like I did an interview with Scott Carney, who wrote the book What Doesn't Kill Us, and I interviewed him whenever he came out with his book, The Wedge, and that was like my first major interview. And I've done quite a few interviews since then, but I'm trying to do some. I'm trying to get better at interviewing, and then maybe go back into interviewing more often. But what I'm trying to do ultimately is, this channel started with just Wim Hof method, and I'm still doing Wim Hof method, and I always will because I love Wim Hof method. Today's video, if you haven't seen it already, please view it and like and subscribe and share it. But that was about Wim Hof method. I got a lot of people saying that or at least I would occasionally hear people or I'd see people post that they were worried about adrenal fatigue whenever practicing Wim Hof method. And over the years, people have, it's not a lot, but occasionally I would see this. And then someone who is a Wim Hof method instructor posted it within one of the secret groups that I'm in, that he was worried about that. And I'm like, I I have never, and I've trained thousands and thousands. I mean, I'm talking thousands of people. I've never had anyone, even anecdotally, say I have this issue. And I keep in contact with a lot of my people. I mean, they email me all the time. I'm constantly getting emails and comments and things about that. So I had to make a video about that. In fact, I'll be remaking some of my older Wim Hof method videos because they need to be remade. And so you can expect some of that. And if you have questions on Wim Hof method, of course, always send that to me. But in addition to that, of course, a lot has happened since I started as one of the first. I was in that first class of Wim Hof method instructors. That's what got me started, really looking at getting deep into this. And I've studied a lot of different styles. I've published my own book, and I'm interested in a lot of things. A lot of things with health, wellness, and philosophy, and just basically, mental health, mindset training, right? And so, yeah, expect all sorts of stuff like that. And if you have questions about any of these things, please let me know, because I'm always wanting to know what direction I should go, where this audience, what you're interested in. So I appreciate that feedback, Papa Geek. Thank you so much. Rusty is on fire today, and Peter, and some days he gets. I forget when it was that Rusty made a comment about my beard whenever we were doing it at Palmanauts Collective, and he gave me like the lowest score out of all 4 Palmanauts, and there was only 3 of us that had beards. I'm never forgiving you, Rusty, for that. That I will hold a grudge forever. Let's see here. Tony says, Jesse, what if we're already signed up for your newsletter? How can we get set up as a beta tester for the functional movement breath course? Tony, that will be you're going to be in that email sometime within the next few days. My hope is that I can send it out tonight, because I'm going to, here in just a minute, I'm going to get off of this live feed And then I'm going just guys, just stay on the channel if you want to see the demo, because I'm just going to go straight back on this channel. The thing is, that video will be unlisted eventually. You can watch the live feed as I do it, but that video is going to be unlisted, and I'm going to send it out to everyone on my email list and everyone in the Patreon club. You can watch it, right? If you didn't catch it the first time. And then if you're on the email list, you're going to get a discount, a super big discount to become a beta tester. If you're in the Patreon club, you get even a bigger discount to be a beta tester. So that'll be coming out soon. Thanks for asking that question, Tony. Not to worry. You'll be getting that very, very soon. Let's see here. Let's see. Moose Mans wants to know more about plant-based stuff. I'm thinking about doing some reviews. And this is one of those things I begrudgingly got into. And I think that's maybe that's the story of Jesse Coomer. Everything that I have gotten into that eventually has been a passion of mine, or that I really enjoy, or that really does a lot of good for me, I have begrudgingly got into it. I didn't want to do cold training. I so didn't want to do that. But it is a lifesaver for me. Almost everything: meditation, breath work, eating right for sure. Just even eating right as a carnivore or as an omnivore, just healthy omnivorous eating. I didn't want to do it. I like my fried foods and my garbage foods, and then I started doing it and I'm like, wow, everything's better. Even my mood is better. Like, I sleep better. Everything's better. Wow. And then I've gone plant-based before and I felt better. But the problem is, what I would always do is I would always go, if anytime I tried to do plant-based, I would try to go too fast. So I would I would try to do 100% plant-based overnight, and then I'd get burned out and I wouldn't want to do it. Or I would smell somebody and then I'd be like, yeah, screw plant-based. I'm going to eat what I want. So what I'm doing now is I'm really trying to hold to specific rules and just enjoy it that way. And it all has to do with your attitude. It all has to do with attitude. Because now I wake up, oh, today's a plant-based day. Awesome. Right. And I plan for it. I'm not just it's not like I'm trying to take stuff out of my diet. It's that I'm adding things to my diet in that way. So I'm still trying to get about the same amount of protein in a day, trying to get about the same amount of fats in a day, same carbs. It's still, and the nice thing is, when you're doing plant-based, I mean, it's not hard to get your carbs. It's a little harder to get your oils or your fats and your proteins. But obviously your micronutrition is there. It's heavily there, which I've never really had a problem with, at least since I started eating healthy. But let's see here. Let's see. But yeah, it is one of those things that is kind of a daunting task. Let's see here. So Tony says, is your wife disappointed in you because you don't like? Thank you, Tony. Thank you. You've been paying attention. Yeah. So yeah, this is. I wish you watched this channel right now just to see your comment, Tony, because yes. So my wife is Puerto Rican. And so I married her over 10 years ago. And that means over 10 years ago, there's a lot of foods that never were part of my diet that entered my diet. And I've never been a rice and beans kind of guy. And so what she has done for me, and I've not, when it comes to rice and beans, I'm still not really heavy into like black beans. I don't like black beans so much. I really don't like beans that much. And I wish I did. It's not like, and it's something that's a blockage that I need to work on. I think I can get there, but right now it's not something I look forward to eating. But she switched out the beans with chickpeas for me, and I like chickpeas. So so it actually worked out quite well. So whenever we have, traditional Puerto Rican foods, it's not necessarily as traditional because it has chickpeas, but it's close. And those work very well. Of course, the thing is, Puerto Ricans also have, or really any of the Caribbean foods that you're going to eat, they are the finest meats. I mean, when you talk about seasoned meats that are just fantastic, um, you know, all of the Caribbean islands are just insanely awesome. Everything down there. So, and they've got some amazing junk food. I mean, paella is really good too. And that one you know, of course, it's mostly a lot of seafood, a lot of seasonings. There's so much good. There's so much good, and that's why I don't think I will ever become completely plant based because I believe, I'm going to live my life. I'm not going to, forego things that I genuinely, it's all, the whole goal here is not to deprive myself of something. The goal here is to make myself healthier and happier and give myself the best possible opportunity because all of life is lived through your body, right? If you picture yourself having, maybe you win $1 million or whatever, you find the perfect partner, or it doesn't matter, any of these ideal, dream situations that you might think of. And imagine that when you're imagining that, you're not imagining yourself sick in that situation, right? You're imagining, well, I'm healthy enough to enjoy this stuff. And so, you know, I've been very blessed in my life, and I have a wonderful, wonderful family. I'm very happy with things in my life, and I want to be able to enjoy those things, which means you have to show up healthy. And so I want to be as healthy as I can, as long as I can. Going plant-based has to do with the fact that I am trying to one of the things that happens. Okay, so, and this is something that I'll give you for those of you guys who are watching, and if people watching the replay, if you've made it to 56 minutes into this, then then you deserve to have this little thing for free. But ultimately, when it comes to plant-based proteins, one of the biggest reasons why I'm trying to go plant-based, there's multiple reasons in my reasoning, but the biggest reason for my health is that um, animal proteins tend to be they tend to activate the mTOR pathway, which is great for building muscle, but it's not great for longevity and health span. And so it's one of these things. As far as I understand, it's either one or the other. Either the mTOR is activated or not. And if it's not, then you can have these longevity things working for you a lot more. So what I am doing, I want to maintain muscle. I'm still working out in the gym, still lifting weights, still doing resistance training. That's my favorite thing to do. I love doing that. But I am trying to be cognizant of where my protein sources are coming from so that I can live a longer, healthier life. So just to say, let's see, Tony says he loves something here. What? Arroz and I don't know how to say that word. Um, okay, so you need to go. See, you need to let go of your Hoosier roots. Now, don't now. You wait a minute there, Tony, and embrace the Caribbean island culture in order to enjoy those rice and beans. Yeah, well, I believe me, I I I've definitely adopted a lot of it in my life. I mean, when we talk about sabor, I am absolutely there. And my wife has really brought an enormous amount of awesomeness into my life, especially because she comes from that different culture. And I absolutely, there's so much about the culture that I really enjoy. Not just the food, but the food is absolutely delicious. So let's see here. I'm going to go back and take a look at some of these other. So Rusty says, you forget my lack of beard, clearly compensating. Oh my gosh. Okay, so hell yeah, excited for the demo. Actually, I do need to switch over to this demo here in just a minute. Let me make sure everything else is read for the play and for the yeah. So guys, I'll be talking about. I'm probably going to actually, you know what, you guys, this is my home team. This is my tribe that's on here right now. I'm thinking about actually doing some taste tests for even some of the faux meat, like the Beyond Meat and a lot of these things, just to see what my honest opinion is on this. I'm mostly into eating uh, like greens, nuts, nut butters, things like that. But I have been experimenting with some of the meat replacements, like the Beyond Meat and things like that. And I may go into doing like a I don't know, like a taste test of those types of things, if that's something that you're interested in. Also, if you are ever interested in any specific I'm doing, or I'm a constantly a laboratory, what I'm doing with myself. Please feel free to ask me questions, ask for advice. It doesn't have to be about Wim Hof method or breath work or cold training. It can be about anything. I am a licensed, or not licensed, I guess a certified nutrition coach and a personal trainer too. So I wear a lot of hats. So whatever it is you guys want to hear about and talk about in future videos, you just let me know. Go to jessecoomer.com and click on contact us. And it'll go straight to me. I'll see it on my phone and then I'll be sure to respond. And sometimes people ask really specific questions or winding questions or questions that, hey, man, you're trying to get something more than what I can give out for free. Sometimes I have to actually charge people for in-depth coaching because I'm not going to write you a book back, right? If I write a book, I have to, I only write books to sell on Amazon or on my website or something like that. But anyway, guys, and most fans want to hear more about the longevity issue with me. Yeah, that's one that it's something that I'm grappling with. Me and my Hoosier ways, Tony. Let's see here. P. Haggerty says, please like and comment on this video when Jesse uploads it later today. Let's help push these great videos. Thank you, P. Haggerty. Please, guys, if this is a channel that you want to support or any channel that you like to support, please definitely, like, share, comment. When you do these sorts of things, it tickles the algorithm and it helps us here at this channel. Me and my editing guy, we really appreciate it because this is a major thing that we put a lot of time and love into, and we appreciate all the help that you guys get. Let's see here. Last but not least, I will answer one last question. I'm 2021. Oh, 2021. How do you get used to winter? I always shiver. Ah, yes. Well, go slow. Go slow. Now, if you want all the in-depth details on how to train in the cold, take a look at my website, jessecoomer.com. I do have a complete guide to how I thought, Tony, I thought you were a Hoosier. I was pretty sure. I just I got to tease you back, right? But as far as cold training, I've got a complete step-by-step guide how to completely do your cold training safely. It takes you from your very first cold shower all the way to walking barefoot in the snow or jumping into a frozen over lake. So all the details are there, but ultimately the best thing is safety and being gradual and having fun with it. That's my simple answer for right now. Guys, thanks so much. Stay on this channel. I'm going to switch over and I'll be doing another live like in the next 5 minutes. And I'm going to do a demo. I'll show you breath applied mobility, the new course that I'm coming out with. So stick around and I'm going to show that to you guys here in just a minute. And for those of you guys who can't stick around, thanks so much for being here. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. Tell people, hey, there's this awesome channel. Get over there. Anyway, guys, thanks so much. Have a great weekend. And don't forget to go out there and be kind. Bye-bye.